Hello students, today in this session we're gonna see the importance of calcium homeostasis. So in this video we'll discuss the elaborate explanation of calcium homeostasis. So what is calcium homeostasis? Now first we're gonna see that. So calcium homeostasis means maintenance of normal calcium level in the blood. Normal calcium level in plasma or blood, you can say. So homeostasis itself, the meaning of homeostasis is keeping the internal environment stable. So calcium homeostasis means maintaining the normal calcium levels in the blood. So now we're going to see how we are maintaining the normal calcium levels. So in the plasma, the normal calcium level is 9 to 11 mg per dl. So this is the normal plasma calcium concentration. So if the plasma concentration of calcium is below 9, it is called hypocalcemia. If it is more than 11 mg per dl, this is called hypercalcemia. Unfortunately, both are very dangerous conditions to our body. So first things first, let me explain the importance of calcium in our body. So calcium is required for the bone formation, so very important. Teeth formation, of course, muscle contraction, cell signaling, cell adhesion, blood clotting, and endocrine function. All these functions individually will explain in another videos in the future. The importance of calcium in the bone formation, teeth formation, muscle contraction, all that will explain in the next video. But this video only explains the calcium homeostasis, how we are maintaining the normal calcium level in between 9 to 11. Just remember one thing, low plasma calcium level is called hypocalcemia, high plasma calcium is called hypercalcemia. Both are dangerous, so in which all these functions will be altered. So we do not need to occur this. So in order to prevent this, we have to maintain the normal calcium, that is 9 to 11 mg per dl. So in order to maintain the normal level, 3 organs and 2 hormones are involved. The first one is bone. So organs include bone. The next one is kidney, and the third one is, I told you 3, so third one is intestine. Okay, and the hormones, I told you 2 hormones are there to maintain the calcium levels normal. So the 2 hormones are PTH. PTH means parathyroid hormone, and the second one is calcitonin. And fortunately, these 2 hormones will be produced from the same organ but different cells. See here, parathyroid hormone calcitonin will be secreted by the parathyroid gland, which is situated right posterior to the thyroid gland. You will see in the anatomy dissection about the parathyroid gland and the cells in the histology part. Remember, parathyroid hormone from parathyroid gland, and calcitonin is also from the parathyroid gland, but there is a little difference in between these 2 hormones. Parathyroid hormone will be produced by the chief cells of the parathyroid gland, and the calcitonin hormone will be secreted by the parafollicular cells of the parathyroid gland. So whatever, so we need 3 organs called bone, kidney, intestine, and 2 hormones called parathyroid and calcitonin. These 2 set of organs and hormones maintain the normal level of calcium, which means if the calcium level is below 9, hypo, above 11 or 12, that is called hyper. So both these are dangerous, I said. So these 2 set of compounds, they prevent the low calcium levels and also high calcium levels. They only maintain the normal calcium. This is called homeostasis. So now we're gonna see how these hormones interact with these organs and thereby maintaining the calcium levels, maintaining the normal calcium levels. So now see, so whenever you have, so first we're going to see, for example, our normal plasma concentration of calcium is 9 to 11 mg per dl. So this is a normal. For example, if patient diagnosed the calcium, if the patient diagnosed with hypocalcemia, the hypocalcemia means almost below 9. For example, let me consider 6 mg per dl. So if the patient has 6 mg per dl of calcium, which means obviously, as I told already, low calcium level. This is a low calcium indicator, which means hypocalcemia. So the patient is in hypocalcemic state. Now what happens, as soon as patient become hypocalcemic, what happens? The low calcium signal goes to parathyroid gland. Remember, whenever you have low calcium levels, the signal goes to parathyroid gland. The parathyroid gland immediately sends the information to the chief cells in it. Chief cells in it. These chief cells immediately produce a hormone called parathyroid hormone. Remember again, whenever you have low plasma calcium level, which is 6 mg per dl, okay, even 7 is also hypocalcemic state, and these low calcium levels sends a signal to the parathyroid gland. In response to the low calcium level, parathyroid gland sends a signal to the chief cells present in the parathyroid gland. These chief cells produces parathyroid hormone. Now we produced parathyroid hormone from the parathyroid gland in response to the low calcium levels, which is 6 mg per dl. Now the produced parathyroid hormone works on bone. Okay, so now let me just draw a simple typical bone structure so that you will understand. Yeah, so this is a bone structure. See here, in the bone there are 3 types of cells, but in this video I am gonna mention only 2 cell types. One is, this is osteoblast, okay, and the next type, another type of cell is osteoclast. These 2 types of cells are major cells in the bone. Now the osteoblast function is, osteoblast strengthen the bone, which means osteoblast grows the bone, improves the bone strength. Osteoclast demineralizes the bone, which means due to the osteoclast activity, bone loses its density. So that is the function of these 2 cells. Remember the 2 cells function, osteoblast and osteoclast. Now the action of PTH we already produced from the parathyroid gland in response to the low calcium level. This parathyroid hormone acts on the osteoblast. Okay, parathyroid hormone acts on the osteoblast. See here, this is a parathyroid hormone attached to the receptor of osteoblast. In response to the parathyroid hormone, this osteoblast produces a compound called rank. Rank is a ligand, or we can say simply a signal molecule. This rank will act on osteoclast. Remember, first parathyroid hormone action on the osteoblast. Osteoblast, in response to the action of parathyroid hormone, it produces rank. This rank binds to the osteoclast. Now see, this is osteoblast, this is osteoclast. See, this is a osteoclast. Rank binds to the osteoclast. In response to the rank binding on the osteoclast, this osteoclast releases calcium stores from the bone. Got it? Again I am explaining you guys. PTH produced by the parathyroid gland in response to the low calcium levels acts on, let me erase it, it acts on osteoblast. This osteoblast produces a ligand called rank. This rank binds onto the osteoclast. Now this osteoclast activates, and already some calcium is stored in the bone whenever you have excess. So that is a interesting thing. Whenever you have excess of calcium, the bone stores the calcium. Okay, so this stored calcium will be taken up by the osteoclast and releases out whenever you have low calcium levels. Now the calcium is coming out from the bone into the blood. So already you have low calcium level, which is 6 mg per dl. Now this bone is releasing calcium, and what happens? The calcium is now entering into the blood. So now this 6 goes to 7, 7 goes to 8, 8 goes to 9, and automatically the calcium level is normal now. So by the action of parathyroid hormone on the bone increases the plasma calcium level up to the normal. So the bone role is over. Okay, so parathyroid hormone role on the bone is over. Parathyroid hormone acts on osteoblast, thereby osteoclast, and osteoclast releases the calcium from the bone deposition and increases the plasma calcium level. Now the bone role is over. Now the kidney role. Okay, kidney role. So what this kidney does? So this is a kidney, and in the kidney we all know there is a units called nephrons. Okay, this is a typical nephron structure: loop of Henle, descending loop of Henle, ascending loop of Henle, distal convoluted, proximal convoluted, and all that. So this is a distal convoluted tubule. This produced PTH already acted on the bone. This produced PTH will also act on the kidney. Here see, this will also act on the kidney, particularly on the distal convoluted tube. On the kidney means in the nephron, on the distal convoluted tubule of the nephron. So this distal convoluted tubule of the nephron is responsible for calcium excretion out from the body. But this PTH hormone acted upon the distal convoluted tubule and prevents the excretion of calcium. Instead, this excreted calcium will be directed back to the blood. Okay, which means parathyroid hormone is promoting the reabsorption of excreted calcium back into the blood. Okay, so whenever you have in hypocalcemic condition, PTH will act on the kidney and reabsorbs back the excretable calcium into the blood. So what if excreted or excretable calcium will come back into your blood? I'm putting the calcium back into the blood from the kidney, which means automatically calcium level will be again increased. So hypocalcemia will become normal by the PTH on kidney. So 2 organs done. What I have told you, 3 organs all involved: bone and kidney. Both are done. The last one is intestine. Okay, now we are left with intestine. So this is a intestinal cell. Now the parathyroid hormone will, this is third part. Okay, third part, intestine, third intestine part of regulation of calcium. Okay, remember the released PTH in response to the low calcium parathyroid hormone is released. This parathyroid hormone, what it does? This parathyroid hormone will act on kidney first. Okay, this is a kidney, and in the kidney there is a compound called calcitriol. Calcitriol is nothing but vitamin D. Okay, remember vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. Very important essay question. I already discussed it in a previous videos. You can go through that, you will understand it. So this parathyroid hormone will enhance the synthesis, or you can say increases the synthesis of calcitriol. Now this calcitriol is produced in the kidney and it will come out into the blood. Now this calcitriol in the blood, calcitriol or vitamin D you can call it. So this calcitriol enters into the intestinal cell. Okay, in the intestinal cell. This calcitriol acts on the DNA of the intestinal cell. This is intestinal enterocyte, you can say. The DNA will be converted to mRNA by the action of calcitriol. This mRNA will be converted to protein. This protein name is called calbindin. Okay, this calbindin is Cal means calcium, binding means binding, calcium binding protein. Okay, calbindin is nothing but calcium binding protein. This protein helps the absorption of dietary calcium that you take from the diet. So this is a calcium that you had by drinking milk and milk products. So that is actually milk and milk related products are the sources of calcium that you had in a diet. This calcium will be absorbed into the intestine by the calbindin, and this calbindin brings the dietary calcium into the blood. Okay, now blood calcium will be automatically increased. So again I am just recapping everything. In response to the low calcium, PTH is produced. This is the third stage on the intestine. Okay, this PTH initially acts on the kidney, and kidney produced calcitriol by the action of PTH. Now this calcitriol comes out from the kidney into the blood. From the blood it enters into the intestinal cell. In the intestine, calcitriol acted on the intestinal DNA, and from there DNA will be converted to mRNA by the process called replication, and this mRNA will be converted to protein called calbindin. So this is a calcium binding protein. It binds with the dietary calcium and brings the calcium into the blood. So what happens if outside dietary calcium comes inside the blood is called blood calcium will be increased automatically. Already we have low calcium levels, that is now increased, which means low calcium 6 mg per dl is again getting increased up to 9 to 11. Okay, so by PTH, the main role of PTH is the PTH increases the blood calcium by acting on bone osteoclast and kidney reabsorption. By acting on bone demineralization occurs. Bone demineralization occurs and calcium will be released out from the bone into the blood. Kidney reabsorption occurs by the PTH, and intestine, PTH acts on intestine indirectly. First it acts on kidney and thereby intestine produces calbindin. Calbindin brings the dietary calcium into the blood. So PTH action on the intestine is indirect via vitamin D. Okay, but bone and kidney they are direct, but intestine PTH is first producing vitamin D, and that vitamin D is acting on intestine, thereby producing calbindin. That calbindin is bringing up the dietary calcium into the blood and therefore increased calcium again. So we got to know how low calcium level, that is 6 mg per dl, into again normal level. So we cured the hypocalcemic level by 3 organs and hormones: bone, intestine and kidney. And we also required one hormone called parathyroid hormone. So this combination increases the blood calcium and treats the hypocalcemic level. What if we have hypercalcemia, which means more than 15 mg per dl, which means you have high calcium level in your blood, which is again dangerous. So in order to prevent from this situation, again we have bone, intestine. Okay, so these two organs involve in regulation or decreasing the calcium level from 15 to again normal 11. So what they do, intestine and the bone. But now here, in order to reduce the calcium level, PTH does not work. Instead of PTH, I already told you in the first few steps, it is called calcitonin. We have already discussed about this calcitonin, right? PTH is over. PTH increases the calcium level from low level. But here the calcitonin, the second hormone from the parathyroid gland, okay, calcitonin. Whenever your blood calcium level is increased, what happens? This increased blood calcium signals to the parathyroid gland. I am writing here in a short forms, understand. Parathyroid gland. This parathyroid gland, in response to increased calcium levels, that is 15 mg per dl, which is high calcium, hypercalcemia, or you can say sometimes 18 also, 19 also, that increased calcium level signals to the parathyroid gland. This parathyroid gland immediately sends a signal to the parafollicular cells of the parathyroid gland. This parafollicular cells synthesizes a hormone called calcitonin. The calcitonin now came into the action. This calcitonin acts on bone first. So I already told you, if you consider that this is a bone, this is the bone. So in the bone, two cells, as I already discussed in the previous explanation. So first cell is osteoblast. Okay, what is the function of osteoblast? Osteoblast helps in strengthening up the bone. Okay, strengthening up the bone. So excess calcium in the blood will be taken up by the osteoblast and stores inside the bone in the form of hydroxyapatite. Okay, hydroxyapatite. It's simple. Calcitonin signals to the osteoblast. Now this osteoblast takes up excess of calcium from the blood into the bone and stores as a hydroxyapatite, thereby decreasing the calcium level. So what happens if the bone takes up excess of calcium from the blood? Automatically blood calcium will be reduced. Okay, if you have 18 mg per dl of calcium in your blood, that is hypercalcemia. So this increased calciumic level will be taken up by the bone. Excess of calcium level will be taken up by the bone by the action of calcitonin on the osteoblast. So by taking up the excess calcium from the blood to the bone density and the strength, ability, everything will be increased. The action of calcitonin on bone is done. Now the action of same calcitonin on the kidney. We have already discussed in the previous explanation that PTH acts on kidney, thereby reabsorption occurs. Reabsorption occurs and increases the calcium level. But the scenario is different. We have increased calcium levels, right? So this increased, we have to decrease the calcium level. So this calcitonin, what it does to the kidney? So calcitonin increases the excretion of excess calcium, already excess calcium in the blood, right? So this excess calcium, by the action of calcitonin on the kidney, this excess calcium enter into the kidney first, and from here this calcium will be excreted out from the kidney into the urine. So into the urine, so calcium will be excreted. Okay, so now the main function of calcitonin in a nutshell is on the bone. So when the calcitonin acts on the bone, calcium uptake happens by the osteoblast, thereby decreased blood calcium level. And calcitonin on the kidney helps in excretion of excess calcium which is not required in the blood to out into the urine, so thereby again decreasing the calcium. So whenever you have increased calcium, you have calcitonin. Whenever you have low levels of calcium in your blood, you have parathyroid hormone. These two will be produced according to your calcium levels. In response to the calcium levels, these two, calcitonin and parathyroid hormone, will be produced, and these two will be acted upon three organs called bone, kidney and intestine, and thereby leveling up your calcium level in between 9 to 11 mg per dl. So thank you. I hope you understood it. And in the next video, I'll provide you the notes for this question. This is very important. Mostly calcium homeostasis, it is related to the physiology and also biochemistry. So in order to understand in a more clarity way, you have to first go through the histology of parathyroid gland, histology of kidney and everything, and then go through the functions of calcium in the biochemistry, normal levels of calcium and all that. So notes will be provided in the next session. Thank you for listening.